Hi, I'm Rocket, and welcome to Whiteboarding with Rocket. This week's kata is going to be numbers and letters. This is probably the most important kata you can do to improve your whiteboarding skills. The one to get warmed up is the first kata, which I call three-ish, which is where you do threes of different shapes and letters and numbers. That one is really good for general purpose warm-ups. This is one that will improve your overall whiteboarding quality end to end. And why is that? Well, you can have a really bad drawing with good lettering, and it will be way more understandable than the reverse. A really good drawing with bad lettering. So this is one of the ways to improve your whiteboarding skills the fastest. The process we're going to go through today. Sizes. So we're going to do the alphabet. Now, I'll just acknowledge this is the Western European alphabet. I'd love to hear if you have different alphabets and you'd like to make one of these, please share it. That would be fantastic. So just with that caveat in mind, we're going to do small, medium, and large letters and numbers. And then for extra credit, if you want to do XL or 2XL, that's really good, especially if you're going to produce something to share, to publish, right? Rarely will you do XL or 2XL if you're doing a live whiteboarding. There's three styles that we're going to practice. One is block letters. That's the one where you want to spend the most amount of time on because that is the most general purpose style. If you want to have a distinguished second style on the whiteboard, you can either do mixed case and or cursive. And I'll show you some very simple things you can do to improve both of those. And then there's a method, and I call this the method because it's how you write out the letters. And there's everything goes left to right. Again, Western European, I understand. And then there's one where you go the top letters to the right, and then you turn around and you go back. And then you do back in reverse, and then you do everything reverse. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to write things in reverse? Well, if you have a situation where you have a whiteboard and you need to annotate it, you don't want to put your hand on the whiteboard and start erasing things. And I know I have one of my things I do is I tend, if I can, I'm putting my hand on the whiteboard because for various reasons it's stability and other things. But I also want to be able to have good writing skills when I don't have my hand on the whiteboard. So that's where this method comes in. All right, with that, we're going to start with the small. On the small one, I'd like to do everything in one line. Let me see how I did. Okay. So I'm going up a little bit. So my line I'm overcompensating because as you go further out, there's a tendency to drop. So I try and not drop, and I went up a little bit. So here's something to do. And I'm in a little bit of an unnatural thing because what I'm not doing is stepping in front of the camera and doing this. But step in front of it. Okay, so if you don't feel afraid to do that, because if you do that, you're going to see when you start to veer off the horizontal. Okay, so small. Let's talk about a couple of the letters here. So you could do I like that, or you could do I like this. Now, if you do I like that, right, this could be an L, this could be a 1. So my recommendation is to be consistent on how you do this. And if you want to be precise all the way across, then do that, right? That's a number 1, and that's a letter I. Okay. And S and 5. So S and 5. They can be pretty close. So the 5, think about doing it in 2 motions. If you do it in 1 motion, make sure that this is a hard turn so that you're distinguished. 7s, okay, I tend to want to do that. And I tend to want to do that because, I don't know, it's just a personal thing. But it helps distinguish it from other letters that it might be. Same thing with Z. Okay, 0, I try and almost always do the line through the 0 because of obviously O. Okay, so that's just a few things on your letters. Precision on the 2 and the 3. Okay, try and get the 2 and the Z. That's one of the reasons that I tend to do the cross on the Z, is the 2 can look like it. And I'll find myself getting lazy when it comes to 2 and 3s, and so I tend to spend a little bit of extra time on those if I see myself doing that. Okay, so medium. This is the one you're going to do the most. So find a good size. Okay, and the way I think about it is small, double that size, that's your medium, double that, and that's your large. And then you go, of course, extra large and 2XL. So let's do large. All right. Okay. One thing to start paying attention to as you're doing this is you see what I'm doing here is I'm resting it, and I'm definitely not locking my wrist, okay? And lettering is a place where you don't always have to lock your wrist because a more natural movement is this, and you get more precision this way than you do with lettering only, right? Remember, precision with locking your wrist is being able to draw large, long, straight lines, bold. Now, I'm going to lift my wrist up for the rest of this. And I'm going to start locking my wrist. Okay, one thing to watch is your 4 and your 9. Make sure those are distinguishable. Okay. All right, so small, medium, large. And you see how I'm doing this. I'm trying to, take up a particular portion of the board instead of going all the way across. Up to you how you want to do that. That's a personal thing. I'm going to do some mixed case and some cursive. And I'm just going to use the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. I'm going to use that lettering. And you're going to notice as I do this, my mixed case and my cursive match a lot. So there's a lot of similarities in terms of the lettering. One is more continuous flow and the other one is more distinguished each letter. So up to you how you want to do this. The goal here is to come up with a second style that you can use to distinguish different things on your drawings. And why is that? If you had 2 colors, right, red and black is what I recommend, it's easy to distinguish the 2 things, right? So if you have foundational things in black and then you have the instances in red or the names of things, that works out well. If you don't have 2 colors, one way to distinguish those 2 things is through the styles. All right, with that in mind. So let's do that again. I try and have a few things capitalized. Now, I'll just some technique things here. You'll see I start wavering between what's cursive and what's just upper lowercase. Okay, that's a style thing. So let's do it in cursive. Okay. So you do that as many times as you need to feel comfortable with that second style, whether it's cursive or it's just mixed case. Very good. And then the method, I'm going to just do this to finish it out. So I'm going to do the backward and then the two backwards, and you'll see how to make this work. So the goal here is to be good and keep your wrist off of the board. Okay, so you see how if I were to put my hand down while doing this, I'd have wiped a bunch of it clean. And also for left-handers, for folks that are left-handed, being able to do it this way, you're going to have to do that from the very beginning. So I'm not going to do the last one, both of that. You watching me do lettering is, yeah, okay, whatever. So you can do this both ways and have fun with that one. If you want to get really creative and go up and down and sideways, you can, but I don't recommend it at this point because you're just trying to get good at your alphabets and your numbers. Well, that's another Whiteboard Kata. I'm Rocket, and this has been Whiteboarding with Rocket.